on this. So, but how would you be able to talk to your kids if you're not able to say to them, for example, that the Prophet said there will come a group from time to time that has these qualities, that they're like the Khawarij. They are people who do takfir on other Muslims. They make the blood of other Muslims halal for themselves. If you don't know these basic things, this is basic knowledge in Islam. This is something you pick up, and this is not deep knowledge. This is just about the Khawarij. Is one of the first things you'll learn, at least in the curriculum of Medina University. Khawarij is one of the first things you'll learn. Because the Medina University emphasizes on all the bad groups, is one of the emphasis that they have. They have a special class on just on the heretics of Islam, so to say. You know, the Mudil, you know, and so on and so forth. So the point is that unless your knowledge is not grounded, your kids are headed for confusion. And they may not ask you questions because they don't have that relationship with you, which is another problem. You know, it's hard enough, and I'll end by saying this point, it's hard enough for our kids that they're going to grow up here and we're going to tell them, you can't do this, and 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 these are the rules we have to follow. Okay, fine, maybe I can survive that. But then on top of that, you have all this confusion and no clarity and don't have the knowledge to give them that clarity. They're headed for trouble. And they will go to either extremes. One extreme, you know, like the if you read the verse in the Quran about shaitan, how he will strike them. Where anil yamini wa anil shimal, right wing and left wing, in front of them and behind them, become too progressive. There's one reaction to this. Oh, let's forget about the rules. Let's become progressive. I want to become a progressive Muslim. Or behind, let's become traditionalist. No. Islam needs some changes because the times have changed. Not at the asul level of asul, it doesn't need change. But things have changed and we need to understand that. We can't be completely in the same curriculum that we were in, for example. But this is how Shaitan said, I will attack in front of them. I will attack behind them. I will attack them from their right side. I will attack them from their left side. Become a socialist Muslim. Become a Muslim that cares about things that the right wing cares about, or things that the left wing cares about, and you lose the center. You'll lose the center. How do you keep your children in the center in the future? Unless they're not, how do you keep them away from these extremes? Because one thing is, okay, yeah, one extreme is that, and one of the extremes of being traditionalist is what? Is to go and join those groups. And over here I want to mention, just very quickly again, in the last 30 years, listen to what I'm about to say, it's very important. You know, since the jihad in Afghanistan started, till now, you can divide the jihadists into 4 categories. You'll be like, oh, why is Sheikh Omar talking about this? Because you have to tell your kids. You have to explain. This is not a subject you can run away from anymore. When the jihad in the 1970s started with the issue in Afghanistan, for example, and the whole world was behind it, as you know. At that time, the Muslims that joined the jihad, they were sincere. Sheikh Abdullah Azzam, for example. Even though there were different groups, this is not something liked within Islam, but still they were, generally speaking, sincere people. But then as time went on, this group that I was telling you about, the Khawarij, started joining. They also wanted to fight, but they also wanted to fight with Muslims. As time went by, the group that was the original group that had brought the Muslims from around the world to have a coalition in Afghanistan and bring down Russia, as they decreased in number, they became demoralized, or whatever happened to them. This is a whole history. But then this other more extreme group, you know, ISIS is a group that even Osama bin Laden would give fatwas against. Yeah. What's his name? The second in command. I don't have time. I mean, I just want to give you a little bit of history so you understand what's happening in the world. The second in command of Zawahiri. Do you know his history? I'll tell you his history. He used to be with the Ikhwan. He wanted to make change for Islam within the system. He worked with the Ikhwan. But what happened? The Ikhwan al-Muslimin, for example, got tortured and tortured and tortured. And then they said, when they were sitting in the jails, if you read his book, it's called The Bitter Harvest. They were sitting in the jails and they said to themselves, how are we going to make a change? The system's not going to let us change. We have to do it in a different way. So if it's not the ballot, then it has to be the bullet. This is the change that has occurred over time. And so those people, then when they had the chance, and the jihad was happening in Afghanistan, a lot of the sincere people went there. And there was a group of them that said, you know what? It's not going to be the ballot that's going to change it. It's going to be the bullet. It was a philosophical thinking that is well documented in Islamic literature in the recent history. And we pretend like it doesn't exist. And so then people like Sheikh Zawahiri and others like him, there were many of them are well known. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just trying to give you a history. Then they joined other groups that were willing to take, instead of the ballot route, the bullet route. Even though, my opinion is, it's nor the ballot nor the bullet. There's a third route which is much better, but I can't go into that right now. But then there was, so the first group was sincere. The second was this group that I talked about, the Khawarij type people. But the people that were influenced by people like Zawahiri, people that were influenced like him, then they also had their extreme thought. Like from the Ikhwan, we'll work within the system. We're not going to work within the system. Then from this second group was another subgroup that had an extreme thought. That even if it takes to kill Muslims to achieve our goal, to establish Islam, we will do that. And these people had the qualities of the Khawarij, where they looked at Muslims with bad intentions because, I will tell you why. If you're a true Muslim, why aren't you doing something about the Ummah? If you're a true Muslim, why aren't you standing up for the Ummah? This mentality was there. Third group was, for example, the Aqsa Brigade, like that you find in Palestine. They want to fight, they call it jihad, but it's more for nationalistic reasons, it's not for Islam. And the fourth group are agencies, government agencies, covert agencies, all sorts of agencies, who then use the bad name of the first three groups, you can say. Use they will wear whatever turban and all of that to look like the terrorists, quote unquote, and then will do atrocities in their name, so to say. But they're foreigners, they're not Muslims, and they're doing this to give Islam a bad name. These are the four groups that you have. You have to explain this to your kids, because if this Boko Haram thing and this ISIS thing, and then from this, Middle East is a gunpowder keg. It's going to ignite, and it's going to ignite big. And just imagine the spring, what we used to call the spring, the rising of the Arab Revolution that started from Tunisia, right? From Tunisia, it went to Morocco, from Morocco to Egypt, and then you have Imran Khan in Pakistan, and now they're doing it in Bangladesh. I don't know if you know this. There's an uprising. We're in a gunpowder situation in the Muslim world. And in a gunpowder situation, we will tend to, a lot of us, our children, because if they want to keep their identity as Muslim, if they don't know true Islam, they'll either be in the front, be progressive, traditionalist, rightist, leftist, but won't be in the center. They'll lose the center. They'll lose the real spirit of Islam. How do you protect? You got to do something. And, inshallah, I don't have time anymore, but let's inshallah do dua and then we will continue. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكون من الخاسرين. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار. اللهم تجعل خلافة المسلمين في هذه الأرض. اللهم يفقهون في الدين. اللهم يفقهون في الدين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. آمين اللهم آمين إن الله يأمركم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم فاستجب لكم فأقيموا الصلاة